Let us now continue with our lecture. So first, let us have a summary of what we have discussed last meeting. So last meeting, we started discussing cardiac physiology. So this is again the normal position of the heart inside the thoracic cavity. So anong kanyang normal position? It is slightly tilted to the left, pointing downwards. The part that is pointing downwards to the left is the apex, while the upper part is the base. Okay? And because of the spiral arrangement of the cardiac muscle fibers, when the heart contracts, it rotates slightly to the right. That will expose more the contracting cardiac apex. And the vibrations produced by the contractions of the cardiac apex can be transmitted to the chest wall. So that when you place the bell of the stethoscope on the chest wall, that will reflect the location of the contracting cardiac apex. That is where you will hear the heartbeat loudest. And that is what we call apex beat or point of maximum impulse. And the location is on the 5th intercostal space, left mid-clavicular line. In addition, when the heart contracts, the base moves towards the apex. Okay? Next. So the human heart again is divided into two pumps, right and left. Each pump is made up of two chambers, an atrium and a ventricle. And we describe the human heart as a 4-chambered double pump. Also, there are two sets of cardiac valves in the heart. So we have the atrioventricular valves between the atria and ventricles, tricuspid on the right side, mitral on the left side. And we have the semilunar valves between the ventricles and arteries, pulmonary on the right side, aortic on the left side. No cardiac valves are present between the atria and the veins. So let us again trace the flow of blood to and from the heart. So oxygenated blood from the lungs enters the left atrium by way of the pulmonary vein. From the left atrium, oxygenated blood flows to the left ventricle by way of the mitral valve. When the left ventricle contracts, oxygenated blood is ejected into the aorta by way of the aortic valve. And from the aorta, oxygenated blood will be distributed to all organs of the body except for the lungs. So that is again the systemic, peripheral, or greater circulation, where the pressure is 70 to 130 millimeters mercury. Next, deoxygenated blood from the systemic, peripheral, or greater circulation will then be collected by the venules, emptied into the bigger veins, from the bigger veins to the right atrium by way of the vena cava. From the right atrium, deoxygenated blood flows to the right ventricle by way of the tricuspid valve. When the right ventricle contracts, deoxygenated blood is ejected into the pulmonary artery by way of the pulmonary valve, and this is the blood that will now enter the lungs, and this is what we call pulmonary circulation, where the average pressure is 4 to 25 millimeters mercury. In the lungs, that is where exchange of gases takes place by simple diffusion across the respiratory membrane between alveolar air and pulmonary capillary blood. Okay? Any questions? Naintindihan yung flow of blood? Okay. Now, what are the parts or what are the differences between the atrioventricular valves and the semilunar valves? First is the number of cusps. So there are 3 each for the pulmonic valve, tricuspid valve, aortic valve, only 2 for the mitral valve. Another difference is the structure of the cusps, the base of the cusps. For the AV valve, it is thin and weak, supported by the chordae tendineae. For the semilunar valve, the base of the cusps is thick and strong, and there is no supporting chordae tendineae. Another difference is the size of the opening. For the atrioventricular valves, the opening is bigger. For the semilunar valves, the opening is smaller. And the size of the opening is inversely related to velocity of blood flow. And what will open and close the cardiac valves? We have two types of pressure gradient. A forward pressure gradient will open up the valves, allowing blood to flow, while a backward pressure gradient will close the valves, and that will prevent backflow or regurgitation of blood. Then we correlated this with the sounds that are generated in the heart, mainly the first and second heart sounds. So the first heart sound, or S1, is due to closing of the atrioventricular valves, tricuspid and mitral. So the sound that is produced by closing of the mitral valve is heard best at the cardiac apex. So fifth intercostal space, left mid-clavicular line, and that of the tricuspid valve is heard best on the fifth intercostal space, left parasternal margin. On the other hand, S2, or the second heart sound, is due to closing of the semilunar valves, aortic and pulmonary. The sound that is produced by closing of the pulmonary valve is heard best on the second intercostal space, left parasternal margin, while that of the aortic valve is heard best on the second intercostal space, right parasternal margin. And during inspiration, we have what we call physiologic splitting of S2, and that is due to the aortic valve closing a little ahead of the pulmonary valve. So that is physiologic, that is normal. Okay? Now, when a cardiac valve is damaged, two types of lesions may be produced. One is a stenotic valve, and the other one is an incompetent or insufficient valve. In both cases, magkakaroon ng abnormal sound in the heart, which we call murmur. Okay? Ito ngayon, yung comparison uli natin of the timing of the murmur when it will be heard. Type of lesion present in the valve and the cardiac valve that is damaged. And remember, pag ang nakalagay lang ay diastole at systole, we are referring to the ventricles. So ventricular relaxation is diastole, ventricular contraction is systole. Okay? Now, we also mentioned that the heart is covered by the pericardial sac or pericardium. So that is a membrane that is made up of connective tissue that is less distensible, and its function is to prevent overstretching or overdistension of the cardiac muscle when the cardiac size increases. And in between these two layers, we have the pericardial space that is filled up with about 30 cc of the pericardial fluid. Next, we talked about the two groups of myocardial cells, automatic and non-automatic. So the automatic cells in the heart are specialized for impulse generation and conduction. And this will include the SA node and the AV node. Between these two are the three internodal tracts that will facilitate transmission of impulses from the SA node to the AV node. So Bachmann, Wenckebach, Thorel. Under the automatic cells, we also have the Purkinje system that is made up of the bundle of His and Purkinje fibers. The non-automatic cells are the muscle cells that are present in the atrial wall and ventricular wall, and they are specialized for contraction. Okay? So we have here again the location of the automatic cells in the heart. And remember that in a normally functioning heart, heart rate and rhythm are determined by the activity of the SA node. So the SA node is the primary pacemaker of the heart. Ang tawag natin doon sa rate and rhythm determined by the SA node is normal sinus rhythm. All the other automatic cells from the AV node down to the Purkinje fibers are called latent or potential pacemaker. So under normal conditions, their main function is only to transmit or to conduct impulses throughout the heart. Okay? Next, we talk about the action potentials generated in the heart. So there are two types. Number one is the slow response action potential generated in automatic cells like the SA node and AV node. So what are the characteristics as well as the ionic bases for each phase of a slow response action potential? So number one, duration is longer, about 200 to 300 milliseconds. Next, the resting membrane potential, that is phase 4, is unstable. It averages negative 60 millivolts. So why is it less negative? Why is it unstable? Because in an automatic cell at rest, the membrane is hindi naman talaga resting. May continuous electrical activity. And that is due to decreased potassium conductance, increased sodium leakage. And this phase 4 is responsible for the automaticity of an automatic cell. Okay? Phase 0 depolarization occurs slowly. And this is due mainly to opening of the slow, long-lasting voltage-gated calcium channels. Walang spike potential because there is no involvement of the fast voltage-gated sodium channels. But at the tip of the curve, slow voltage-gated potassium channels will open. The initial phase of repolarization is phase 2. And in phase 2, you have more potassium efflux than calcium influx. At the end of phase 2, the calcium channels will close and that will leave the potassium channels open. So continuous ang paglabas ng potassium so that at one point, nagkakaroon ng hyperpolarization. And when these potassium channels finally close, that will restore the unstable negative 60 RMP. Okay? By the way, we also call phase 4 as pre-potential, pacemaker potential, or slow diastolic depolarization. Okay? Next. What about the fast response action potential? So this is generated in non-automatic cells. So yung cardiac muscle cells present in the atrial and ventricular wall, as well as in automatic cells like the bundle of His and Purkinje fibers. So mahaba din ang duration, 250 to 300 milliseconds. But this time, the RMP is stable at negative 90 millivolts. Anong ionic basis? The membrane is highly permeable to potassium, only slightly permeable to sodium. Phase 0 depolarization occurs rapidly, and this is due mainly to opening of the fast voltage-gated sodium channels, although at negative 20 millivolts, nagbubukas rin yung long-lasting calcium channels. There is a spike, and at the tip of the spike, the fast voltage-gated sodium channels will close, while the slow voltage-gated potassium channels will open. That will bring about phase 1, which is the initial phase of repolarization. Phase 2 here, or yung plateau, is longer in duration, it is more flat. And at phase 2, calcium influx is equal to potassium efflux. At the end of phase 2, the L-calcium channels will close and that will leave only the potassium channels open. That will bring about the final phase of repolarization. And there is no hyperpolarization here. When these potassium channels close, that will restore the stable negative 90 RMP. Okay? Next, we have the periods of refractoriness. So, very long ang duration ng refractoriness. Absolute refractory period is from the beginning of depolarization until the end of phase 2. Relative refractory period is phase 3 until the negative 90 RMP is re-established. As to the mechanical response of the cardiac muscle starts to contract after the beginning of depolarization. Peak of contraction coincides with phase 2. So that at phase 3, the cardiac muscle will now start to relax. And as I mentioned before, while tetanic contraction or tetanization is a property of the skeletal muscle cell, it is not a property of the cardiac muscle cell because of the very long periods of refractoriness. So here we compare the duration of the action potential absolute refractory period, relative refractory period of the cardiac muscle when the heart rate is 75 beats per minute with that of the skeletal muscle. We again compared them this time when the heart rate is 200 beats per minute with that of the skeletal muscle. So you can see the difference. Okay, now, in rhythmicity, simply said, the SA node generates impulses at regular intervals. With sympathetic overstimulation to the SA node, the rate may increase, but the rhythm is still regular. So that is sinus tachycardia. With vagal overstimulation to the SA node, the rate may decrease, but the rhythm is still regular. So that is what we call sinus bradycardia. So in both cases, rate and rhythm are still determined by the activity of the SA node. Next, we trace the direction of impulse conduction in the heart. So again, in a normally functioning heart, impulses are generated by the SA node, which is located at the junction of the superior vena cava with the membrane of the right atrium. From the SA node, the impulse is transmitted to the AV node, which is located posteriorly on the right side of the interatrial septum. And transmission of impulses from the SA node to the AV node is facilitated by the three internodal tracts, Bachmann, Wenckebach, and Thorel. So that means when the impulse travels from the SA node to the AV node, the right and left atria will depolarize. And in the atria, the direction of repolarization follows that of depolarization. So it's still from SA node to AV node. When the impulse reaches the AV node, nagkakaroon ng decrease in velocity of impulse conduction. And that is what we call AV nodal delay. From the AV node, the impulse will travel along the interventricular septum, where you have the bundle of His that will branch out into right and left bundle branches and connect to the Purkinje fibers that are present mostly at the cardiac apex, but they are distributed all throughout the ventricles. So magkakaroon ka ngayon ng depolarization, and the direction is from left to right to apex to posterobasal part of the ventricles, and that is the last part of the ventricles to depolarize. And in the ventricles, repolarization occurs in the opposite direction of depolarization. So if depolarization is from anterobasal, apex, posterobasal, repolarization is from posterobasal, apex, anterobasal. So that is the direction of impulse transmission in the heart. And pag nagkaroon ng block sa transmission ng impulses sa AV node, tatlong klase yan. Pag first degree, ang pinaka-problema, prolong the normal ang duration ng AV nodal delay, but the ratio of atrial to ventricular contraction is still 1:1. So that is incomplete AV block. Second degree is still incomplete, and this time, there are some impulses from the SA node that can reach the ventricles, yung iba hindi na nakakarating sa ventricles. So that the ratio of atrial to ventricular contraction here could be 2:1, it could be 3:1. Ngayon, a third degree is complete block. So no impulses from the SA node reach the ventricles. So for about 5 to 20 seconds, walang contraction ang ventricles. But after 20 seconds, ma-activate ngayon ang Purkinje fibers. Mag-generate ng sariling impulses at a lower rate compared to that of the SA node. So that eventually, ang mangyayari, the SA node will contract normally 75 beats per minute in response to impulses generated in the SA node. The ventricles will also contract, but this time at a lower rate in response to impulses generated from the Purkinje fibers, and that is about 15 to 35 per minute. Okay? Contractility. So we have here the characteristics, properties of the cardiac muscle cell. So we describe the cardiac muscle cell as anatomically striated, but it is a functional sensation. Ano bang important characteristics niya anatomically? So the cardiac muscle fibers are arranged in bundles. In a bundle, the sarcolemma of one muscle fiber branches out to reconnect with the sarcolemma of the other muscle fibers. Present at the Z-line, yung mga blue na line na yan, are intercalated discs. And these intercalated discs provide mechanical and electrical connections in between individual muscle fibers. Mechanical in the form of tight junction, electrical in the form of gap junctions. So that in the cardiac muscle, you will not see individual twitches. Instead, when the cardiac muscles contract, they contract in bundles. Okay? Other characteristics, elastic tissue that will enable the atrial and ventricular wall to be stretched or to be distended to accommodate a large volume of blood. Overstretching, overdistension of the cardiac muscle cell is prevented by the presence of connective tissue. More mitochondria and active capillaries, again, the main source of energy for cardiac muscle contraction is oxidative metabolism. So dapat maraming active capillaries para maganda ang blood flow, magandang oxygen supply ng cardiac muscle, ang tawag natin doon, perfusion. Now remember that the sarcoplasmic reticulum here is not as well developed as that of the skeletal muscle. Although it is still the main source of calcium for cardiac muscle contraction, merong additional source, and that is the extracellular fluid. However, the transverse tubular system here is well developed. Okay? So let us again discuss excitation, contraction, coupling in the cardiac muscle. So the resting membrane potential is negative 90 millivolts. An impulse will be generated from the SA node, transmitted to the cardiac muscle membrane, and that will open up voltage-gated sodium channels that will allow sodium influx, depolarizing the membrane. But before the membrane completely depolarizes, at negative 20 millivolts, dihydropyridine receptors present on the membrane of the T tubules will be stimulated. When stimulated, that will open up voltage-gated calcium channels that will allow calcium from the ECF to enter the myocardial cell. Ano mangyayari sa calcium na papasok? Some of them will immediately bind with troponin C in the myofilaments, while some will bind with ryanodine receptors on the membrane of the sarcoplasmic reticulum, and that will now open up calcium-gated calcium channels that will allow stored calcium to move out and also bind with troponin C. With the formation of the calcium troponin C complex, cardiac muscle contraction is initiated. Next, we have repolarization followed by relaxation. And for the cardiac muscle to relax, calcium has to be removed from troponin C. Saan ngayon pupunta ang calcium? Some of this calcium will be actively transported back into the sarcoplasmic reticulum through the action of CERCA or calcium ATPase pump. So this is primary active transport. Some of the calcium will be pumped out into the ECF through the action of another calcium pump. So if you uniport, it also utilizes ATP as energy. So again, that is primary active transport. Next, the sodium-potassium pump will pump 3 sodium ions out in exchange for 2 potassium ions pumped into the cell, so that will create a concentration gradient for sodium. Marami sa labas, kukunti sa loob. And this concentration gradient for sodium will now fuel the activity of the sodium-calcium exchanger. So this will pump 3 sodium ions in exchange for 1 calcium ion that is pumped out of the cell. Since the activity of the sodium-calcium exchanger depends on the concentration gradient of sodium that was created by the sodium-potassium pump, so yung sodium-calcium exchanger is secondary active transport. And it is the main means by which calcium is extruded from the myocardial cell. through the activity of the sodium-calcium exchanger. Okay? I think for Section A, this is where we ended last meeting. Tama ba, Section A? Andyan ba kayo? Section A, di ba usapan natin? Pwede kayo magtanong sa akin, sasagot ako. Pwede rin ako magtanong sa inyo, sasagot din kayo. Hanggang dito ba tayo natapos last meeting?
Yes po.
Yes, Doc.
Yes po, Doc.
Okay, up to this point, do you have any clarifications, any questions before we continue? Any questions? Sabi ko sa inyo, nire-record natin ito. So makikita ito ng ibang sections. So makukumpara nila sila sa inyo. Sino bang mas passive? Hindi ko tinatanong ko sino mas active, sino mas passive kasi lahat kayo passive. Ang comparison lang, sino mas passive. Walang questions? Okay.
Ando.
So ito yung sinasabi kong spiral arrangement of the cardiac muscle fibers, enabling the heart to rotate slightly to the right during contraction. Now, we go to autonomic innervation of the heart. So sympathetic nerves to the heart originate from T3, 4, and 5. Preganglionic fibers from T3, 4, and 5 synapse with the stellate ganglion of the sympathetic chain, and from the sympathetic chain, postganglionic fibers release norepinephrine that will bind with beta-1 receptors in the heart, increasing the formation of cyclic AMP, increasing conductance for both sodium and calcium, so that most of the sympathetic effects to the heart are excitatory. And as you can see here, sympathetic nerves innervate all structures in the heart, both automatic and non-automatic. Okay? For the parasympathetic nervous system, parasympathetic effects to the heart are carried by cranial nerve number 10 or vagus nerve. So the vagus nerve releases acetylcholine, which will now bind with muscarinic 2 receptors in the heart, decreasing the formation of cyclic AMP, increasing potassium conductance, causing hyperpolarization, so that parasympathetic or vagal effects to the heart are mostly inhibitory, and not all structures in the heart receive parasympathetic or vagal innervation. Ano lang ang meron? Among the automatic cells, we have the SA node, AV node, up to the proximal part of the bundle of His only. And for the non-automatic cells, we have the atrial muscle. There is very little, if any, parasympathetic or vagal innervation to the ventricles. Okay? So in relation to this, what are the cardiac activities regulated by the autonomic nervous system? Number 1 is regulation of heart rate. We call that chronotropic regulation. And if we are talking about heart rate, the structure involved is the SA node. Sympathetic stimulation to the SA node will increase its excitability, therefore increasing the heart rate. On the other hand, parasympathetic or vagal stimulation to the SA node will decrease its excitability, therefore decreasing the heart rate. Next, regulation of the velocity of impulse conduction. We call this dromotropic regulation. At ang pinag-uusapang structure natin, AV node. Okay, remember at the AV node, bumabagal yung velocity of impulse conduction. And it is only by way of the AV node that impulses from the SA node can reach the ventricles. Okay. So sympathetic stimulation also increases the excitability of the AV node, so that will shorten the duration of the AV nodal delay. Parasympathetic stimulation decreases the excitability of the AV node, and that will increase the duration of the AV nodal delay. So that one cause of a first-degree AV block is if there is parasympathetic or vagal overstimulation. Okay? Next is regulation of the force of contraction of the myocardial cells. We call this inotropic regulation. Sympathetic stimulation has a positive inotropic effect on the heart. So that will increase the force of both atrial and ventricular contraction. In addition, sympathetic stimulation also has a positive lusitropic effect on the heart. Pag sinabing lusitropic, L-U-S-I, it can also facilitate myocardial relaxation. So sympathetic stimulation increases the force of myocardial contraction. It can also facilitate myocardial relaxation. So sympathetic stimulation has a positive inotropic and a positive lusitropic effect on the heart. Okay? On the other hand, parasympathetic stimulation decreases the force of atrial contraction. It has no direct effects on the force of ventricular contraction because remember, there is very little, if any, parasympathetic or vagal innervation to the ventricles. Okay? Naintindihan ba to section A up to this point? Any questions? Clarifications? Okay, so we continue. So we will now go to the cardiac cycle. So ano bang ibig sabihin ng cardiac cycle? Now this is the sequence of electrical and mechanical events taking place in the heart from the beginning of one heartbeat initiated by an impulse from the SA node to the beginning of the next heartbeat also initiated by an impulse from the SA node. I repeat, when we say cardiac cycle, this is the sequence of electrical and mechanical events taking place in the heart. From the beginning of one heartbeat initiated by an impulse from the SA node to the beginning of the next heartbeat also initiated by an impulse from the SA node. In other words, from one heartbeat to the next is one cycle, or from one impulse to the next is one cycle. And in one cycle, there are electrical and mechanical events taking place in the heart. Now let us talk about electrical events. So this is all about electrical potentials generated in the heart. So this will include depolarization and repolarization of the atria and ventricles. And all these electrical events or electrical potentials generated in the heart can be recorded by the electrocardiogram by means of the different ECG waves, segments, intervals. So pagdating nyo sa ECG, pag nakita nyo yung tracing, bawat wave, bawat segment, bawat interval nagre-represent ng electrical activity or electrical potential generated in the heart. At uulitin ko, ito yung depolarization, repolarization of the atria and ventricles. Okay. Yung nakikita nyo ngayon sa screen, yan yung isang typical ECG tracing that will show you the electrical events taking place in the heart in one cycle. So lahat ito normal. Yung abnormal na ECG, i-discuss nyo pagdating sa lecture sa electrocardiography. So isa-isahin natin. So let's start with the P wave. Nakikita nyo yung P wave. It is an upward deflection and it represents atrial depolarization. So I repeat, the P wave represents atrial depolarization. Okay, next. Sundan nyo ako kasi hindi nakamark yan doon sa tracing. Tingnan nyo from the end of P to the beginning of Q. End of P to beginning of Q. So you can see it is a straight line. Nakikita ba nyo? Section A yung straight line. End of P to beginning of Q.
Yes po, Doc.
Yes, Doc.
Let's call that PR segment. Tandaan nyo sa ECG, pag segment, straight line. Isopotential line. So that PR segment represents AV nodal delay. yung pagbagal sa transmission ng impulses at the AV node. So end of P to beginning of Q. Next, from beginning of P to beginning of Q. Ito na yung may black na arrow. Beginning of P to beginning of Q. Beginning to beginning. Kanina, end to beginning. Pagka beginning to beginning, that is your PR interval. So iba ang segment, ibang interval. So since malawak yung sakop ng PR interval, ano-anong electrical activities ang nire-represent niya? Number one, andyan ang P-wave. So atrial depolarization. Number two, andyan ang PR segment. So AV nodal delay. And number three, depolarization of the proximal part of the bundle of His. So I repeat, from beginning of P to beginning of Q is the PR interval. So na-encompass niya atrial depolarization, AV nodal delay, beginning of depolarization of the bundle of His or depolarization of the proximal part of the bundle of His. Okay na? Section A? Nakuha nyo?
Yes.
Okay, next. Tingnan nyo ngayon. From beginning of Q to end of S. So that is the QRS complex. Beginning of Q to end of S, QRS complex, and that represents ventricular depolarization. Okay? So this is a complex made up of three individual waves, Q, R, and S. Each wave represents depolarization of a different part of the ventricles. So let us start with the initial negative deflection, that is the Q wave, and the Q wave represents depolarization of the interventricular septum. So yung Q wave is depolarization of the interventricular septum. Then you have a very tall positive deflection, and that is the R wave. And the R wave represents depolarization of the cardiac apex. Okay? A second negative deflection is the S wave, and that represents depolarization of the posterobasal part of the ventricles. Remember, that is the last part of the ventricles to depolarize. So ulitin ko, while the QRS complex represents the whole of ventricular depolarization, each wave will represent depolarization of a different part of the ventricles. Ang Q, interventricular septum, ang R, cardiac apex, ang S, posterobasal part of the ventricles. Okay? Ngayon, tingin uli kayo sa screen. Ayan. End of S, beginning of T. So you have another isopotential or straight line. And that is now the ST segment. Okay? And this ST segment represents phase 2, yung plateau sa ventricular repolarization. Madali sila i-correlate. Kasi ang nire-represent niya yung plateau, yung phase 2. At ano yung ST segment? Straight line. Okay? And next, you have the T wave. The T wave represents phase 3 of ventricular repolarization. So ST segment is phase 2, T wave is phase 3. Ngayon, sundan niyo uli ako kasi hindi nakamark dito. From the end of S to the end of P. So malawak uli, end to end. End of S to end of P, that is now the ST interval. And that will represent the whole of ventricular repolarization. So yung ST segment, phase 2 lang. Yung T wave, phase 3 lang. Pero yung ST interval, buong repolarization ng ventricles. And finally, yung pinakamababa, tingnan nyo. From beginning of Q to the end of T. Beginning of Q to the end of T, that is the whole action potential generated in the ventricles. So yung QRS ang depolarization, yung ST interval ang repolarization. So yung QT interval, yan ang buong action potential sa ventricles. Okay? Any questions? Okay, tandaan nyo. Okay, ipapakita ko lang ulit para maliwanag ha. Okay, marami tayong binalikan. I-correlate natin. Yan. Tingnan nyo mabuti ha. Ang resting phase 4. Tingnan nyo straight line ang depo. Ang repolarization 1 to 3. Tandaan nyo yung drawing na yan. Bumalik tayo ngayon sa ECG. Para makorelate lang nyo. Okay, tingnan nyo yung QRS at yung ST. Kung naalala nyo yung pinakita ko kanina, yung fast response action potential sa ventricular muscle. Yung phase 0 depolarization, straight line. Yan yung QRS complex. Nakita nyo, kukunti lang ang duration niya, maitse. Diba? Yung repolarization, phases 1 to 3 na napakahaba, yan yung ST interval. Naintindihan? Okay, so we continue. So remember, in the cardiac cycle, electrical is followed by mechanical. Ito nga yung electrical, depo and repo. Ano yung mechanical? Depolarization will be followed by contraction or what we call systole. And it is during systole that blood is ejected from the different chambers of the heart. So during atrial contraction or systole, blood is ejected from the atria to the ventricles. And during ventricular contraction or systole, blood is ejected from the ventricles to the arteries, pulmonary artery, aorta. Next, repolarization is followed by relaxation or diastole. And it is during diastole that the different chambers of the heart fill with blood. So during atrial relaxation or diastole, the atria fill with blood coming from the veins, pulmonary vein, vena cava. And during ventricular relaxation or diastole, the ventricles fill with blood coming from the atria. So that mechanically, we divide the cardiac cycle into two phases, systole and diastole. Okay? Now, if the heart rate is 75 beats per minute, the duration of one cycle is 0.8 of a second. The duration of systole is 0.27 of a second. That of diastole is longer at 0.53 of a second. Tumingin uli kayo dito sa ECG, electrical. So pag-usapan natin ventricles. So itong QRS, ventricular depolarization, followed by ventricular systole, na ang duration 0.27 of a second lang. On the other hand, itong ST interval, followed by ventricular diastole or relaxation na ang duration 0.53 of a second. So makikita nyo yung difference sa duration. Nare-reflect din yan dito sa electrical activity. Okay? So ngayon, ikikwento ko na sa inyo ang cardiac cycle. Okay, now, remember that one cycle will start with an impulse from the SA mode. So ano munang mangyayari before an impulse is generated from the SA node or before magsimula ang isang cycle? Okay? So before an impulse is generated from the SA node, the membrane of the atria and ventricles is completely polarized. Anong ibig sabihin? Pag sinabi yung membrane is polarized, anong ibig sabihin? Angelo?
Yes, Doc.
Angelo?
Yes, po.
Anong ibig sabihin pag yung membrane ay polarized?
Resting po, Doc.
Okay, naka-resting membrane potential and that is negative 90 millivolts. Kung yung membrane ng atria at ventricles naka-resting membrane potential, so ibig sabihin, naka-relax ang atria, naka-relax ang ventricles, diastole. Okay? The semilunar valves are closed, but the atrioventricular valves are open, allowing blood to flow from the atria to the ventricles. And we call that ventricular filling. So that means even before the start of a cycle, meron ka ng ventricular filling, and this is actually account for 75% of ventricular filling. So yan yung condition natin, ha? Naka-relax ang atria, naka-relax ang ventricles, sarado ang semilunar valves, bukas ang atrioventricular valves, we have 75% of ventricular filling. Okay, now, an impulse will be generated from the SA node. So, this will mark the beginning of one cycle. From the SA node, the impulse will be transmitted to the AV node. Can you see my slide? Kasi wala kayo nito sa PowerPoint.
Yes,
Nakikita nyo?
Yes,
Okay. So from the SA node, the impulse will be transmitted to the AV node, and as we mentioned earlier, transmission of impulses from the SA node to the AV node is facilitated by the three internodal tracts, Bachmann, Wenckebach, and Thorel. And as the impulse travels from the SA node to the AV node, the right and left atria will depolarize, and that is recorded in the ECG as the P wave. Okay? The response of the atrial muscle to depolarization is to contract. So that following atrial depolarization, magkakaroon na ng atrial contraction. So anong nangyayari pag nagko-contract ang atria? So ang condition natin ngayon, nagko-contract na ang atria, nakarelax pa rin ang ventricles, sarado pa rin ang semilunar valves, nakabukas pa rin ang AV valves. When the atria are contracting, there will be an increase in atrial pressure, and this is recorded as the A wave in the atrial pressure curve. Hindi yan sa ECG, ha? A wave in the atrial pressure curve. Next, when the atria are contracting, an additional volume of blood will be ejected to the ventricles, but this volume of blood will account for only 25% of ventricular filling. Kasi 75% nangyari na kanina nung nakarelax pa ang atria. In some individuals, when the atria are contracting, you may hear the fourth heart sound. So yan yung mga nangyayari during atrial contraction. Okay, now, nakarating na yung impulse sa AV node. Pero babagal ang velocity of impulse conduction, ang tawag natin doon, AV nodal delay, which is recorded in the ECG as the PR segment. And this AV nodal delay will allow more time for the ventricles to fill with blood. So puntang nang punta pa rin yung blood from the atria to the ventricles, and as the ventricles fill with blood, ventricular pressure increases. Okay? Next, from the AV node, the impulse will now be transmitted to the ventricular conduction system. So that will include the bundle of His and Purkinje fibers, and this will now cause ventricular depolarization, which is recorded in the ECG as the QRS complex. The response of the ventricular muscle to depolarization is to contract. So that following ventricular depolarization, you now have ventricular contraction or systole. And as the ventricles are contracting, ventricular pressure continues to increase. Simultaneous with ventricular depolarization is atrial repolarization. And normally, you do not find an ECG wave representing atrial repolarization, since atrial repolarization occurs simultaneously with ventricular depolarization. The wave that is supposed to represent atrial repolarization is masked by the higher magnitude of the QRS complex. So hindi mo siya nakikita normally. And what will be the response of the atrial muscle to repolarization? Magre-relax na siya. So following atrial repolarization, you have atrial relaxation and a decrease in atrial pressure. So ano na ang kondisyon natin? Nabaliktad na. Naka-relax na yung atria, so mababa na ang atrial pressure. Ang ventricles nagko-contract na nagko-contract, pataas na pataas ang ventricular pressure. So makikita nyo dito, we have a backward pressure gradient wherein ventricular pressure is higher than atrial pressure. And this backward pressure gradient will now close the atrioventricular valves and that will generate the first heart sound. Okay? So we now have a condition wherein sumara na ang AV valves. Ang semilunar valves kanina pa nakasara. So walang inflow, walang outflow ng blood to and from the ventricles. So hindi magbabago ang volume ng ventricles pero siya'y nagko-contract. And this phase of the cardiac cycle is what we call isovolumic or isovolumetric contraction. Iso, walang pagbabago sa volume. Okay? Contract na contract ang ventricles. Sarado lahat ng cardiac valves. Pataas na pataas ang ventricular pressure. And this high intraventricular pressure may push the AV valves to bulge into the atria. And that will create a slight increase in atrial pressure, which is now recorded as the C wave in the atrial pressure curve. Why only a slight increase? Because remember, we mentioned last time, when the ventricles contract, the papillary muscles will also contract and that will pull the chordae tendineae, preventing overbulging of the AV valves into the atria when the ventricles are contracting. So although nagbabulge yung AV valves into the atria dito, konti lang. Kaya konti lang din ang increase sa atrial pressure. Okay? Ngayon, nagko-contract pa din ang ventricles. Tumataas pa rin ang ventricular pressure this time. When left ventricular pressure exceeds 80 millimeters mercury and right ventricular pressure exceeds 10 millimeters mercury, we now have a forward pressure gradient between the ventricles and arteries, pulmonary artery, aorta. And this will push open the semilunar valves and blood will now be ejected from the ventricles to the arteries. Pag biglang bukas no semilunar valves, mabilis yung pag-eject ng blood papunta sa arterial system. Kaya ang tawag doon, rapid ejection. But remember, the circulatory system is a closed system. So pag-eject ng blood ng ventricle sa arterial system, pakunti-kunti, nagkakaroon na ng runoff ng blood to the peripheral tissues. Nadidistribute na siya. At the same time, pakunti-kunti, bumabalik na yung blood sa atria. So nagkakaroon ka na ng atrial filling. Okay? Contract pa rin ang contract ng ventricles, palakas na palakas ang force of contraction until the peak intraventricular pressure is reached. And that is 120 millimeters mercury for the left and 25 millimeters mercury for the right. Yan na yung peak intraventricular pressure. Pag na-reach na yan, hihina na ang force of ventricular contraction. So that, from rapid ejection, magkakaroon na lang ng reduced ejection. Mabagal na yung pag-eject ng blood, pero nag-i-eject pa rin. Now, let us compare rapid ejection and reduced ejection. As to duration, rapid ejection comprises only 1/3 of the ejection phase. 2/3 of the ejection phase is reduced ejection. But as to the volume of blood that is ejected, 70% is already ejected during rapid ejection, 30% na lang during reduced ejection. Okay? Now, during reduced ejection, continuous yung runoff ng blood to the peripheral tissues, continuous din yung pagbalik ng blood sa atria. Any questions up to this point? Can you still follow? Okay, next. The ventricles will then repolarize. So that is recorded as the ST interval in the ECG. And following ventricular repolarization is ventricular relaxation or diastole. At pag nakarelax na ang ventricles, bumababa na ang ventricular pressure. Yung blood na eject na sa arterial system. And normally mataas ang pressure sa arterial system. So that when arterial pressure exceeds ventricular pressure, you again have a backward pressure gradient that will now close the semilunar valves and that will generate the second heart sound. So again, you have a condition wherein nakasara ang semilunar valves. Ang AV valves nakasara kanina pa. So walang inflow, walang outflow ng blood to and from the ventricles. So walang pagbabago sa volume ng ventricles pero siya'y nakarelax. And this phase of the cardiac cycle is now called isovolumic or isovolumetric relaxation. Okay, let us go back. From the time that the peak intraventricular force or pressure is reached, so hihina na ang force of ventricular contraction until the semilunar valves close. Ang tawag natin doon, protodiastole. I repeat, from the time na humina ang force of ventricular contraction until closing of the semilunar valves. That is what we call protodiastole. Okay? Now, so all cardiac valves are closed, naka-relax ang ventricles, bumababa ang ventricular pressure, continuous pa rin ang atrial filling. Bumabalik na ngayon ng marami na blood sa atria. And this will cause another increase in atrial pressure, which is now recorded as the V wave in the atrial pressure curve. Okay, now, anong kondisyon natin? Nakarelax ang atria, nakarelax ang ventricles. Sarado ang semilunar valves, sarado ang AV valves, pero maraming blood na ang bumabalik sa atria, tumataas ang atrial pressure. So that when atrial pressure exceeds ventricular pressure, you have a forward pressure gradient that will now open up the AV valves. So blood flows from the atria to the ventricles, and initially, it is rapid. So nagkakaroon pa na uli ng ventricular filling. In some abnormal conditions, like in patients with left ventricular failure, this is when you will hear the third heart sound, only in abnormal conditions. From rapid inflow of blood to the ventricles, unti-unti, mabagal na siya. So reduced inflow, and that is what we call diastasis. And these two, yung rapid inflow, reduced inflow, will comprise 75% of ventricular filling. So kung napansin nyo, bumalik na tayo sa simula. Nakarelax yung atria, nakarelax ang ventricles. Sarado ang semilunar valves, naka-open ang AV valves, meron kang 75% of ventricular filling. And what will happen next? An impulse again from the SA node and the beginning of another cycle. So from the time an impulse is generated from the SA node up to this diastasis, that is one cycle. And the duration is 0.8 of a second. So all of this that I have told you, lahat na ikinuwento ko sa inyo, from the time nagkaroon ng impulse SA node hanggang diastasis, lahat yan mangyayari within 0.8 of a second. That is the duration of one cycle. Okay? Any questions? Anything you want to clarify? Section A. Bago tayo pumunta sa paghimay ng cardiac cycle. Any questions? Any clarifications?
None po, Doc.
Okay, so we continue. So we will now dissect the cardiac cycle. Ano ba yung important events? So number one, electrical, as recorded in the ECG. The P wave represents atrial depolarization. PR segment is AV nodal delay. Pagsamahin mo silang dalawa, meron kang PR interval. Okay? QRS complex is ventricular depolarization. So Q-wave, depolarization of the interventricular septum, R, cardiac apex, S, posterobasal part of the heart. Yung J-point, wala kanina sa ECG tracing, but that is phase 1 of ventricular repolarization. ST segment is phase 2 of ventricular repolarization. T-wave is phase 3 of ventricular repolarization, so that the whole of ventricular repolarization is recorded as the ST interval, and the whole action potential that is generated in the ventricles is recorded as the QT interval. Okay? Next. What about heart sounds? Remember, there are 4 that can be generated in the heart. So the first heart sound is due to closing of the atrioventricular valves that will mark the beginning of isovolumic contraction and the end of ventricular filling. Okay? S2 is due to closing of the semilunar valves that will mark the beginning of isovolumic relaxation and the end of the ejection phase. S3 is only heard in abnormal conditions, and this usually coincides with rapid inflow of blood to the ventricles. S4 coincides with atrial contraction. Okay? What about changes in atrial pressure? Lahat ito increase atrial pressure. So as recorded in the atrial pressure curve. So A wave is increased atrial pressure during atrial contraction. C wave is increased atrial pressure during isovolumic contraction and is due to bulging of the AV valves into the atria when the ventricles are contracting. The V wave is increased atrial pressure during isovolumic relaxation, and this is due to increased atrial filling. Okay? Now, with regards to changes in ventricular volume and pressure, we divided the cardiac cycle into 4 phases. Number 1 is ventricular filling. So, nakadiastole, nag-fill ng blood ang ventricles. Habang nag-fill siya ng blood, syempre, there will be increased volume with little increase in pressure because the ventricular wall can be stretched because of the presence of elastic tissue. So kahit mag-increase ang volume, konti lang ang increase sa pressure. Next, isovolumic contraction. All cardiac valves are closed. So there is no change in ventricular volume, but since the ventricles are contracting, nag-i-increase ang ventricular pressure. Next is ejection, divided into 2, rapid and reduced. During rapid ejection, decrease ang volume, syempre. Kasi nag-eject ng blood ang ventricles, so mag-decrease ang volume. Pero, palakas pa rin ang palakas ang kanyang force of contraction, pataas pa rin ang pataas ang intraventricular pressure hanggang ma-reach yung peak. And from there on, reduce ejection na. So, decrease volume, decrease pressure. The 4th phase is isovolumic relaxation. Nakarelax ang ventricle, so mababa ang pressure, all cardiac valves are closed. So walang pagbabago sa volume. So that is your changes in ventricular volume and pressure in 1 cycle. Okay? So ngayon, let us go to the Wigger's diagram. In the Wigger's diagram, the cardiac cycle is divided into several phases. AS is atrial systole or contraction. IC is isovolumic contraction, followed by the ejection phase, which is divided into 2. Initial is rapid, followed by reduce. IR is isovolumic relaxation, and then you have rapid inflow of blood into the ventricles, reduce inflow or diastasis, and again, atrial systole. Tandaan nyo yung mga heading. Kasi pagdating sa exam, wala yung mga heading na yan. Ang makikita lang nyo, puro lines. At dapat alam nyo i-correlate yung electrical, mechanical events taking place in the heart dito sa Wigner's diagram. Okay. Now remember, the duration of one cycle is 0.8 of a second. Ventricular systole starts from the beginning of isovolumic contraction until the end of the ejection phase. So yan yung 0.27 of a second ang duration. Ventricular diastole starts from the beginning of isovolumic relaxation until the end of atrial systole of the next cycle. Ito na yung 0.53 of a second. Okay? Okay, now, ano ngayon ang pagbabago sa ventricular pressure? So that curve represents changes in ventricular pressure in one cycle. So let us start. There is a slight increase in ventricular pressure when the atria are contracting. Bakit? Because of the additional volume of blood that is ejected from the atria to the ventricles. Yung 25% of ventricular filling that will cause a slight increase in ventricular pressure. However, ventricular pressure actually starts to increase during isovolumic contraction. At the end of isovolumic contraction, at that point, left ventricular pressure exceeds 80 millimeters mercury and right ventricular pressure exceeds 10 millimeters mercury. So that will open up the semilunar valves and blood will be ejected from the ventricles to the arteries. Now, during rapid ejection, pataas pa rin ang pataas ang ventricular pressure hanggang ma-reach niya yung peak. Ang peak, yan na yung purple na dotted lines. So that means at the peak, left ventricular pressure is 120 millimeters mercury. Right ventricular pressure is 25 millimeters mercury. From then on, ventricular pressure will now decrease, continue to decrease during isovolumic relaxation. At that point, magkakaroon ka na ng backward pressure gradient wherein arterial pressure is higher than ventricular pressure, so that will close the semilunar valves. So at that point, that is when you will hear is 2. Now, at the beginning of rapid inflow, pag point uli, dyan naman magbubukas yung AV valves, allowing blood to flow from the atria to the ventricles. Initially, rapid inflow and then reduced inflow. Although nag-i-increase ang volume ng blood sa ventricles, there is very little increase in pressure. And again, slight increase during atrial systole due to the additional 25% of ventricular filling. Okay? Now, tandaan nyo, pag ang question sa exam point, we are referring to the cardiac valves, opening and closing. So, nilagay ko dyan, itong naunang arrow, nagbukas ang AV valves. Doon sa pangalawang arrow, nagsara ang AV valves. Ngayon, bago magsimula yung rapid inflow, magbubukas ang AV valves. Bago magkaroon ng isovolumic contraction, magsasara ang AV valves. So bago magsimula ang isovolumic contraction, dyan maririnig ang S1. Okay? Next. What about changes in aortic pressure? Remember that pressure in the aorta is always high. It ranges from 80 to 100 millimeters mercury. During rapid ejection, aortic pressure increases because of the volume of blood ejected by the left ventricle to the aorta, and that volume of blood ejected into the aorta will exert a greater force in order to stretch the aortic wall. Kaya pataas ng pataas aortic pressure. Eh bakit during reduced ejection, nagdi-decrease ang aortic pressure? Because the volume of blood in the aorta will now be distributed into the peripheral tissues. And when the aortic valve closes, there is again a slight increase in aortic pressure. Yan yung tinatawag nating dicrotic notch or incisura. Okay? Pagsamahin natin ngayon yung ventricular pressure sa aortic pressure. So makikita nyo, aortic pressure is always higher than ventricular pressure except at that point. To open up the aortic valve and to enable rapid ejection of blood from the left ventricle to the aorta. But during reduced ejection, ang tendency nila pareho is to decrease, but this time, aortic pressure is now greater than ventricular pressure. So that just before isovolumic relaxation, because aortic pressure is greater than ventricular pressure, that will cause or close the aortic valve. Okay? Ito naman yung ventricular volume, madaling tandaan. During atrial systole, there is a slight increase in ventricular volume. Yan yung 25% of ventricular filling. During isovolumic contraction, there is no change in ventricular volume because all cardiac valves are closed. During the ejection phase, siyempre, nag-eject ng blood ang ventricles papunta sa arteries, magdi-decrease ang volume. During isovolumic relaxation, again, there is no change because all cardiac valves are closed. And during ventricular filling, rapid inflow, biglang taas ang volume. During diastasis, that is reduced inflow. So medyo nag-stabilize ang ventricular volume. So yung rapid inflow again at diastasis, yan yung 75% of ventricular filling. The additional 25% will be contributed when the atria contract. Okay? Now, what about changes in atrial pressure? If we are talking about changes in pressure of the right atrium, remember the right atrium receives blood from the systemic circulation. We call it central venous pressure, which normally is 0 millimeter mercury. So ano yung mga increase sa atrial pressure? So number one is a wave. And this is due to atrial systole or contraction. Next, C wave occurs during isovolumic contraction, and this is due to bulging of the AV valves into the atria. The V wave appears during isovolumic relaxation, and this is due to increased atrial filling. Okay? Any questions with the Wigner's diagram? O wala kayong maintindihan? Any questions? Clarification? Application niya ng cardiac cycle. Kung naintindihan niyo yung cardiac cycle kanina, ma-analyze niyo ang Wigner's diagram. Kasi ang exam about the Wigner's diagram is analysis of the cardiac cycle. Any questions? Okay, next. This is now the ventricular volume pressure curve or what we call ejection loop. May nagtanong sa akin doon sa isang section, yan po ba'y arterial blood pressure? Hindi. Iba ang arterial blood pressure, ito ay ventricular volume pressure curve. Ito yung diniscuss natin kanina na phases 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? So the horizontal axis represents volume from 50 to 150 ml per cc. The horizontal axis represents ventricular pressure, 0 to 150 millimeters mercury. So in relation to changes in ventricular volume and pressure, we divided a cardiac cycle into 4 phases. So phase 1 is from point A to point B. Anong nangyayari? There is increased volume from 50 to a little less than 150. But with the increase in volume, there is little increase in pressure. So that is ventricular filling. Okay? So ventricular filling starts at point A with opening of the AV valves. It ends at point B with closing of the AV valves. So you hear S1 at point B. Next, from B up to C, ang direksyon natin paakyat. That is phase 2. Anong napansin nyo? Yung volume hindi gumalaw, napako at a little less than 150 ml. Pero sabi ko, ang direksyon natin paakyat. So ibig sabihin, while hindi nagbabago ang volume, tumataas ang ventricular pressure. So that is isovolumic contraction. So isovolumic contraction starts at point B with closing of the AV valves. It ends at point C with opening of the semilunar valves. Ngayon, we go to phase 3. From C back to D. But as you can see, meron siyang peak. So that is the ejection phase and it is divided into 2. Dagdagan nyo. From C up to the peak, that is C prime. C to C prime, yung peak. So that is rapid ejection. From C prime to D, that is reduced ejection. Okay? So anong pagbabago? From C up to the peak or C prime, increase pressure, decrease volume. So rapid ejection. From C prime to D, decrease volume, decrease pressure. So that is reduced ejection. So that means at C prime, peak left intraventricular pressure is 120 millimeters mercury. Next, from B back to A, ano nangyari? Napako ang volume sa 50 ml. So walang pagbabago sa volume. Pero ang direksyon natin sa pressure, pababa. From D to A, bumababa ang pressure. So that is isovolumic relaxation. Okay? So that is how to analyze the ventricular volume pressure curve or ejection loop. Ulitin ko, phase 1 is A to B, ventricular filling. From B up to C is isovolumic contraction. From C up to the peak, that is C prime, is rapid ejection. From C prime to D is reduced ejection. And D back to A is isovolumic relaxation. Any questions?
None.
Okay, so we continue. So kung wala kayong tanong, walang clarifications, I presume na intindihan. Okay? So we now proceed to cardiodynamics. So we will talk about the different cardiac indices or parameters that we can use to assess the function of the heart. So number 1 is cardiac output or CO. Pakitandaan uli yung abbreviation. Hindi yan carbon monoxide, that is cardiac output. So this is the amount, quantity, or volume of blood that is ejected by each ventricle per minute, right and left. So let us recall, ano ba yung mga parameters that are higher or greater in the left ventricle than in the right ventricle? So number 1 is opposing force or resistance to ventricular contraction. For the left ventricle, pressure in the systemic circulation, which is high. For the right ventricle, pressure in the pulmonary circulation, which is lower. Number 2 is workload. Number 3 is peak intraventricular pressure. 120 millimeters mercury for the left, only 25 millimeters mercury for the right. Number 4 is force of contraction. And number 5, wall thickness. So itong limang ito, mas malaki, mas mataas sa left ventricle kesa sa right. But then again, in spite of all these differences, when the two ventricles contract, they will eject the same amount of blood per minute. And that is what we call cardiac output. And cardiac output is equal to the product of stroke volume and heart rate. In a normal resting adult, it averages 5 to 6 liters per minute, equal sa left at saka sa right ventricles. Pakitandaan ang equation ng cardiac output, stroke volume times heart rate. Okay? Next, anong ibig sabihin ngayon ng heart rate? Now, this is the number of contractions per minute or number of heartbeats per minute or number of cardiac cycles per minute. Pare-pareho lang yan. And in a normally functioning heart, heart rate and rhythm are determined by the activity of the SA node. And since the SA node can fire 60 to 100 action potentials per minute, the normal range of the heart rate is also 60 to 100 per minute, and the average is 75 per minute. So sumusunod yan sa SA node. Next, what about stroke volume? This is now the amount, quantity, or volume of blood ejected by each ventricle per contraction or per cardiac cycle or per heartbeat. And it is equal to the difference between end diastolic volume and end systolic volume. The average stroke volume is 70 ml, again equal sa right and left ventricles. Ito per contraction. Kung yung 70 ml, i-multiply mo sa 75 beats per minute, yung heart rate, makukuha mo yung cardiac output about 5,000 to 6,000 ml per minute. So naintindihan nyo ang pagkakaiba ng cardiac output at saka stroke volume. Ngayon, ano ba itong end diastolic volume? Madali siyang tandaan. Kasi kung ano yung pangalan niya, yun ang ibig niya sabihin. End diastolic volume. Remember, it is during diastole that the ventricles fill with blood. So whatever amount of blood is present in the ventricles at the end of diastole before systole, that is the end diastolic volume. And this is the same volume of blood that will exert force on the ventricular wall, stretching the ventricular wall before contraction. Kaya ang tawag din sa kanya, preload. And the average is 110 to 130 ml, equal sa right and left ventricles. Okay? And finally, end systolic volume. Ganun din. Kung ano yung pangalan, yun ang ibig sabihin. And remember, during systole, nag-contract ang ventricles, na-eject yung blood. So kung ano ngayon yung natira sa ventricles, yan yung ESB. So this is now the amount, quantity, or volume of blood remaining in the ventricles after systole or contraction. So ibig sabihin, pag contract ng ventricles, hindi lahat ng blood na contained, yung 110 to 130 ml, ma-i-eject. Merong matitira. Ito yung ESB. And the average is about 45 to 50 ml. Ulit, pareho sa left and right ventricles. So binanggit natin yung 5 pagkakaiba sa left at right ventricles. Ano ang pareho? Lahat ng volume. And diastolic volume, stroke volume, and systolic volume, consequently, cardiac output equals sa left at sa right. Okay? Ngayon, balik tayo sa ventricular volume pressure curve or ejection law. So ito, gagamitin natin. Hindi lamang pag-analyze ng cardiac cycle, pero sa cardiodynamics din. So pareho lang. Yung horizontal axis, ventricular volume, yung vertical axis will be pressure. So mas tayo ngayon doon sa volume kasi puro volume ang pinag-uusapan natin. Ngayon, tingnan nyo ulit. Nabaliktad lang yung letters. No, kanina A to B, ngayon D to A. Di ba yan yung ventricular filling? So nakarelax ang ventricle, nag-fill siya ng blood. So that means whatever volume of blood is in the ventricles at point A, that is the end of ventricular filling, that is your end diastolic volume. Naintindihan? Section A.
Yes, Doc.
So ilan ang EDV niya? How much is the EDV based on this graph?
About 120.
Okay, 120, mga 130 ml. Okay? From A to B, that is isovolumic contraction. So walang pagbabago sa volume. Still, sabihin na natin 130 ml. But from B to C, yung red square na yan will represent the amount that is ejected. That is about 70 ml. So yan yung stroke volume. Okay? Ngayon, from C to D, walang pagbabago kasi isovolumic relaxation niya. So yan lang yung natira. So that at point D, that is now the volume of blood remaining in the ventricles after contraction. So yan yung ESB. And at this, as the graph shows, yung ESB dito is more than 50 ml. Siguro mga 70 ml yan. Okay? Naintindihan nyo yung relationship ng end diastolic volume at point A. Stroke volume, yung B to C, yan yung na-eject. Yung natira at point B, pabalik. So hindi siya umeksakto sa 50 ml. More than 50 ml ang ESP. Naintindihan nyo? Ejection loop? Okay, so let us continue. Okay, now, what are the factors that will affect or influence the end diastolic volume? Remember, this is again the volume of blood in the ventricles at the end of diastole before systole. Average of 110 to 130 ml. So this is the same volume of blood that will exert force on the ventricular wall. Look at the black arrows, stretching the ventricular wall before contraction. So that another term for EDV is preload. Okay? Okay, now, factors affecting the end diastolic volume. Number 1 is effective filling time. Pag sinabi nating filling time, we are referring to diastole, hindi systole. Okay? Kasi it is during diastole that the ventricles fill with blood. So anong relationship? Pag mahaba ang duration ng diastole, you allow more time for the ventricles to fill with blood. So increase ang duration ng effective filling time. Therefore, mag-i-increase ang EDV. Ngayon, EDV or preload. Pag nag-increase yan, mai-stretch ang ventricular wall. Lalakas ang force of ventricular contraction, marami ngayon mai-eject ang ventricle. Kaya nag-increase ang stroke volume. And based on our equation, stroke volume is directly related to cardiac output. So pag nag-increase ang stroke volume, mag-i-increase ang cardiac output. Maliwanag tayo dyan. Section A. Naintindihan?
Yes po, Doc.
Okay, now, the major factor that will now affect the duration of diastole is heart rate. Siyempre, pag bumilis ang heart rate, iiksi ang duration ng isang cycle. So, iiksi din ang duration ng diastole. Pag nag-increase ang duration, nag-decrease ang duration ng diastole, less time for ventricular filling. So, decrease ang effective filling time, decrease ang EDV. At pag nag-decrease ang EDV, hindi masyadong nai-stretch ang ventricular wall. So, mahina ang kanyang force of contraction o konti ang stroke volume. So, decrease ang stroke volume, decrease ang cardiac output. But if you remember our equation, sabi ko sa inyo, tandaan, while stroke volume is directly related to cardiac output, heart rate is also directly related to cardiac output. Ay bakit dito, nung nag-increase ang heart rate, nag-decrease ang cardiac output? Anong nangyari? What is the relationship between heart rate and cardiac output? So this graph will show you, at the top you have the equation. The relationship between heart rate in the horizontal axis, cardiac output sa vertical axis. Hindi siya palaging directly related, hindi rin siya palaging inversely related. Iba-iba ang relasyon. Depende sa heart rate. Okay, tingnan niyo yung simula. When the heart rate increases from 20 to 60 beats per minute, cardiac output also increases. Expected natin, basta nag-increase ang heart rate mo, nag-shorten konti yung diastolic period, so mag-decrease din ang stroke volume. But when the heart rate increases from 20 to 60 beats per minute, the increase in heart rate is greater than the decrease in stroke volume. That is why nag-increase pa rin ang cardiac output. Okay? Okay, next. What about from 60 to 180 beats per minute? The cardiac output is maintained at a normal level because when the heart rate increases from 60 to 180 beats per minute, the increase in heart rate is equal to the decrease in stroke volume. So normal ang cardiac output. Okay? Next. But when the heart rate increases above 180 beats per minute, ano nang nakita nyo? Nag-decrease na ang cardiac output because above 180 beats per minute. The increase in heart rate now is less than the decrease in stroke volume. So cardiac output decreases. Dito sa pangatlong kondisyon, above 180 beats per minute, masyado nang compromise ang duration ng diastole. Napakaigsi na ng kanyang duration. Kaya, kukunti na lang talaga ang ventricular filling, kukunti na talaga ang stretch ng wall. Kaya ang hina ng kanyang contract at napakababa na ng output. Okay? Now, if you will look at this table, so you have the duration of one cycle. If the heart rate is 75 beats per minute, 0.8 of a second. Systole, 0.27 of a second. Diastole, 0.53 of a second. Above 180 beats per minute, expected natin ang duration nilang tatlo magdi-decrease at nag-decrease talaga. Pero saan pinakamalaki ang decrease? It is the duration of diastole or filling time. Okay? Okay, next. Other factors that may affect the ADV. Effective filling pressure. This is the pressure needed to distend the ventricles. And it is equal to the difference in pressure between inside the ventricles and outside the ventricles. So I repeat, pressure needed to distend the ventricles equal to the difference in pressure between inside the ventricles and pressure outside. When we say pressure outside the ventricles, that is pressure inside the thoracic cavity. Yung tinatawag nating intrathoracic pressure, which normally is below atmospheric pressure. Pag mababa ang intrathoracic pressure, ang tendency is for all elastic structures inside the thoracic cavity, for their wall to be stretched or to be distended. So kung mas mababa ang intrathoracic pressure, mas madaling na i-stretch ang wall ng ventricles, ng veins, ng lungs. So anong dapat? Alin dapat ang mataas ang pressure? Sa loob ba o sa labas ng ventricles for the effective filling pressure to increase at para dumami ang EDV? Saan dapat mataas ang pressure? Sa loob o sa labas ng ventricles to stretch the ventricular wall?
Inside.
Inside. Kasi pag tumaas yung pressure outside, hindi makaka-stretch ng wall ang ventricles. Okay? Now, the measure of the stretchability or elasticity of the stretchability or distensibility of an elastic structure is what we call compliance. And it is equal to change in volume over change in pressure. Para masabi natin na maganda ang compliance ng ventricles, dapat yung change in volume is greater than change in pressure. Di ba sabi natin, the ventricles should be able to accommodate a large volume of blood with little increase in pressure. Maganda ang compliance. And the last factor is venous return. This is the amount of blood that returns to the heart per minute. At the start of our lecture last meeting, we mentioned that because of the closed nature of the circulatory system, whatever amount of blood is ejected by the heart per minute or cardiac output is equal to the amount of blood that will return to the heart per minute, and that is venous return. Siyempre, kung maraming bumabalik, maraming EDV, maraming cardiac output. Okay? Okay, next. What about the factors that will affect the end systolic volume? So remember, this is the volume of blood that will remain natira in the ventricles after contraction. So that the main factor that will affect the ESV is the force of myocardial contraction. So balik tayo sa ejection loop. Okay, ang normal uli yung red square. So end diastolic volume is a little less than 150. Ulit sabihin natin mga 130 ml. Okay? Paakyat ng red line ay subvolumic contraction. So ibig sabihin yung nasa loob ng red square, yan yung in-inject na blood. Halimbawa, 70 ml. So that from D pabalik, yan yung ESV. And nakikita nyo ang D rito, more than 50 ml. Okay? Ngayon, balik tayo sa EDV, 130 ml. Ngayon, palalakasin natin ang force of contraction ng ventricles. Anong nangyari doon sa in-eject? Yung stroke volume. Lumabas na siya sa red square, umabot na siya sa yellow. So dumami yung na-eject nung nilakas yung contraction. Kung nadami yung na-eject, ano yung natira? D prime. Kung kanina yung normal ang natira or ESV 70 ml, nung nilakasan ang force of contraction, dumami yung na-eject, ang natira kumonte. 50 ml na lang siya. Okay? So what is now the relationship among the force of myocardial contraction, stroke volume, ESV? Increase force of contraction, increase stroke volume, decrease ESV. I repeat, increase force of contraction, increase stroke volume, decrease ESV. Dagdagan natin ang isa pang factor, EDV. Siya ang mauuna kasi yung EDV determines the force of contraction. So kung maraming EDV, increase force of contraction, increase stroke volume, decrease ESV. Clear? Okay, next. So if the force of myocardial contraction is the main factor that will affect the ESV, what now are the factors that affect the force of myocardial contraction? 4. Magsimula tayo sa number 4. Now remember that cardiac muscles depend on oxygen as source of energy for contraction. At anong magsusupply ng oxygen? Coronary arteries, yung tinatawag nating perfusion. So it is important that even the smallest branch of the coronaries, walang bara, walang abnormal clot. Para maganda ang perfusion ng cardiac muscle, malakas ang force of contraction. Sa ibang kondisyon, halimbawa, may isang branch niya na nagkaroon ng abnormal clot, na barahan. So yung area na sinusupplyan ng branch na yon, mawawala ng blood flow, mawawala ng oxygen supply. So magiging ischemic yung area. Pag hindi siya na-correct, eventually, magdi-develop yan ng tinatawag natin infarct. At pag nagkaroon ng infarct, yung area na yan ng myocardium, hindi na siya magko-contract. So that the overall force of myocardial contraction will now decrease. Kaya importante na kahit yung pinakamaliit na branch ng coronaries, walang bara. Para adequate ang perfusion ng cardiac muscle, malakas ang kanyang force of contraction. Okay? Number 3, calcium. Remember that the sarcoplasmic reticulum in the cardiac muscle cell is not capable of storing large amounts of calcium ions that can provide for maximum muscle contraction. So there has to be another source, and that is the ECF. But the main source is still the sarcoplasmic reticulum. But again, before calcium is stored in the sarcoplasmic reticulum can move out and bind with troponin C, dapat muna yung calcium from the ECF papasok to stimulate the ryanodine receptors. Okay? Next, number 1 muna tayo bago number 2, EDV. According to Frank Starling's law, within physiologic limits, the force of myocardial contraction is determined by the length of the cardiac muscle before contraction. We also call this mechanism as heterometric autoregulation. Metric is a measure of length. Hetero, pabago-bago ng length yung cardiac muscle. Bakit autoregulation? Because it is mismo yung cardiac muscle that will determine its force of contraction. Again, depending on its length before contraction. And what will increase the length of the cardiac muscle before contraction? EDV. Okay? So ito na ngayon. Itong mga factors na to, lahat ito, pinapa-increase muna niya ang EDV para mabanat yung ventricular muscle before contraction para lumakas ang kanyang force of contraction. By the way, bakit within physiologic limits? Ibig sabihin, Pag sobra ng stretch yung cardiac muscle, humihina naman ang kanyang force of contraction. Because pag masyado siya na-stretch or overstretch na yung cardiac muscle, nagle-lessen yung overlapping ng actin at myosin filament. So that pag contract, mahina na ang kanyang force of contraction. And also in the cardiac muscle, if you overstretch it, mismo yung cardiac muscle, nadi-disrupt. Okay? Okay, now, what are the factors that will increase the cardiac muscle length before contraction? Number one, stronger atrial contraction. Remember, ang atria, hindi ganun kalakas mag-contract. Although nakaka-eject siya ng blood papunta sa ventricles. So kung mas malakas ang force of atrial contraction, mas marami siyang ma-eject na blood sa ventricles, and this will directly increase EDV. Okay? Next. Increased total blood volume will increase first venous return. You will see the relationship between blood volume and venous return when you go to hemodynamics. Dito, sabihin na lang natin na pag nag-increase ang total blood volume, mag-i-increase ang venous return, tsaka palang mag-i-increase ang EDV. Yung number one directly increases EDV. Okay? Increase venous tone. Remember that one function of the veins is to return blood to the heart. Anong mangyayari dito? Pag nagkaroon ng partial contraction ang venous wall, partially contracted, hindi fully contracted, partial, that will decrease the capacity of the veins to accommodate blood. Pag nag-decrease yung capacity ng veins to accommodate blood, saan pupunta yung blood? It will go back to the heart. Okay? So increased venous tone will again increase venous return first. Increased venous return will increase EDV. Increased pumping action of the skeletal muscles. When you stay standing for a long time, hindi gumagalaw, nagkakaroon ng pooling ng blood sa lower extremities. So decrease ang venous return. But once you move your extremities, yung mga valves present in the veins of the extremities mag-o-open. At ang opening niya directed towards the heart. So pag contract ng skeletal muscle, when you move your limbs, nag-open yung mga venous valves, mag-i-increase uli ang venous return, increase ang EDV. And the last one is a more negative intrathoracic pressure. So tandaan nyo, lahat itong factors na to will stretch the muscle length before contraction. Paano niya i-stretch? By increasing first yung EDV. Yung EDV ang directly magpapastretch ng ventricular muscle. Itong limang factors, yung number one, directly increasing EDV. Yung the rest, 2 to 4, will increase first venous return bago mag-increase ang EDV. Okay? Questions? Okay, next. So the other factor that will increase the force of myocardial contraction is sympathetic stimulation. Okay, naalala nyo ito, diniscuss natin sa contraction, excitation, contraction coupling. At binanggit natin kanina, sympathetic stimulation has a positive inotropic effect on the heart. It increases the force of myocardial contraction, but it also has a positive lusitropic effect on the heart. It can facilitate myocardial relaxation. Okay, dun muna tayo sa contraction. Look on the left side, catecholamines. Epinephrine and norepinephrine, they bind with beta-1 receptors in the heart, and that will increase the formation of cyclic AMP. Cyclic AMP stimulates protein kinase A. Tandaan nyo, that is protein kinase A kasi merong C. Ito A. Anong ginagawa ng protein kinase A? Number one, it causes phosphorylation of the calcium channels in the sarcolemma, activating these calcium channels, allowing calcium influx. So that will increase the force of myocardial contraction. Okay? Next, protein kinase A causes phosphorylation of troponin, and that will decrease binding of calcium with troponin C. So this will now facilitate myocardial relaxation. Next, remember yung phospholamban. Di ba pag-relax ang muscle, para mag-relax, yung calcium bumabalik sa sarcoplasmic reticulum through the action of the calcium pump. Pero ito phospholamban, ini-inhibit niya ang calcium pump. Ngayon, anong gagawin ng protein kinase A? It phosphorylates phospholamban. And that will remove the inhibitory effect of phospholamban on the calcium pump. So yung calcium pump will actively transport calcium back. And that will again facilitate myocardial relaxation. So kaya nga sabi ko kanina, by phosphorylating yung calcium channel sa sarcolemma, allowing increased calcium influx, sympathetic stimulation can increase the force of myocardial contraction. But by causing phosphorylation of troponin, that will decrease the affinity of calcium with troponin C, phosphorylation of phospholamban, that will activate the calcium pump on the membrane of the sarcoplasmic reticulum. Sympathetic stimulation can also facilitate myocardial relaxation. That is a positive lusitropic effect, LUSI. Okay? Okay, next. Still, with the force of myocardial contraction, another factor that can affect it is heart rate. Within physiologic limits, an increase in heart rate can increase the force of myocardial contraction. Kasi pag sinabi natin increase ang heart rate, mas malimit kang magde-depolarize. Kung mas malimit magdepolarize, mas maraming calcium ang papasok, so mag-i-increase ang force of myocardial contraction. But within physiologic limits. Kasi when the heart rate is above 180 beats per minute, diyan na ulit papasok yung decreased ADB, decreased stretch of the ventricular wall, therefore decreased myocardial contraction. Okay? Another factor, we have the cardiac glycosides. Example is digitalis. These are drugs that are given to patients suffering from heart failure. Pag may heart failure kasi, ang problema, decrease ang pumping activity of the heart. So mahina ang kanyang force of contraction. By giving these cardiac glycosides, ang ating purpose is to increase the force of myocardial contraction. Paano ang kanyang ginagawa? Mechanism of action. Now look on the right side. Di ba ang normal, pag nag-repolarize na yung cardiac muscle membrane, para mag-repolarize, mag-activate ang sodium-potassium pump. Maglalabas ng 3 sodium, magpapasok ng 2 potassium, may concentration gradient ka ngayon for sodium, ma-activate yung sodium-calcium exchanger. Magpapasok ng 3 sodium, maglalabas ng 1 calcium, at sabi ko paulit-ulit. Yung activity ng sodium-calcium exchanger, yan yung main means para matanggal ang calcium from the myocardial cell. Kasi sa myocardial cell membrane at sa membrane ng T-tubule, marami kang sodium-calcium exchanger. Anong ginagawa ng cardiac glycosides? Makikita naman nyo, ini-inhibit niya ang sodium-potassium pump. So kung hindi gagana ang sodium-potassium pump, hindi lalabas ang sodium. So wala kang concentration gradient for sodium. Kung walang concentration gradient for sodium, hindi din gagana yung sodium-calcium exchanger. So mawawala yung main means na nagtatanggal ng calcium sa myocardial cell. So nasan yung karamihan ng calcium? Nasa loob pa rin ng myocardial cell, and that will now increase the force of myocardial contraction. Okay? The last factor that will affect the force of myocardial contraction is afterload. Tandaan nyo ang preload EBV. Yan yung mag-i-stretch ng ventricular muscle before contraction. When you say afterload, it is now the opposing force or resistance to ventricular contraction. So yung afterload ng left ventricle, pressure sa aorta or pressure sa systemic circulation. Ang afterload ng right ventricle, pressure sa pulmonary artery or pressure sa pulmonary circulation. So magkaibang preload sa afterload. Okay. Itong nagre-regulate ng heart rate sa CBS regulation na yan. Kung naalala nyo, doon sa preload, yung black arrows nakapoint sa wall ng ventricle. kasi ini-stretch niya yung wall ng ventricle. Ngayon, itong black arrows, ang nire-represent niya dapat sana yung volume ng blood na mai-eject ng ventricle. Ito na ngayon din yung red arrow, lalabas yung blood papunta sa aorta. Ngayon, itong white na arrow or transparent or whatever, yan ngayon yung pressure sa aorta na sumasalubong sa ventricles. Nakita niyo relationship? Kaya ang tawag natin sa pressure sa aorta, afterload, opposing force or resistance to ventricular contraction. Okay, now, we go back to the ejection loop. Okay, ang normal uli, yung red square. So, at point A, yan yung EDV, 130 ml. Yung nasa loob ng red square, yan stroke volume, yung inject. At yung from D pabalik, so ito ay siguro mga 70 ml, yan yung ESD. Naintindihan ba section A?
Yes. Yes, po.
Naintindihan? Okay, ngayon, ibalik natin sa point A, EDV 130 ml. Ay yung pasyente nyo, chronic hypertensive, hindi umiinom ng gamot, so mataas ang kanyang arterial blood pressure or aortic pressure. So anong gagawin ng ventricles para maka-eject ng blood? Lalakasan ang force of contraction. So pataas na pataas ang ventricular pressure from B, umakyat siya to B prime. Okay? Kaya lang, kahit lakasan ng ventricle ang kanyang force of contraction, nahihirapan pa rin siya mag-eject ng blood kasi ang taas ng pressure sa aorta. Kaya ngayon, yung na-eject niya, kung kanina, normal, B to C, ngayon naging B prime to C prime. So, nakita nyo, nabawasan yung stroke volume. Eh, nung nangyari doon sa natira, kung nabawasan yung na-eject, dadagdagan yung natira. Kung kanina, nasa point D, ngayon, D prime. So, ang laki niya ngayon, mga 80 ml na siya. Okay? So, ano ngayon ang relationship ng what they call this? Afterload, force of ventricular contraction, ESV. Increase afterload, increase force of contraction initially. Okay? Pero, ang stroke volume magdi-decrease pa rin, ang ESV mag-i-increase. So I repeat, increase afterload, initially the ventricles will increase their force of contraction. But even if the ventricles try to increase the force of contraction, decrease pa rin ang stroke volume, increase ang end systolic volume. Okay? Aside from an increase in aortic pressure or chronic hypertension, another condition that will increase the afterload of the left ventricle is if there is a stenotic aortic valve. So makikita niyo yung comparison ng thickness ng wall ng ventricles, pagka normal at pagka stenotic yung aortic valve. Tingnan nyo ngayon, ano nangyari. Yung normal na aortic valve, pag contract ng ventricle, ayan, may eject. Madaming volume ng blood sa aorta. Pero nung naging stenotic siya, nahihirapan yung ventricle mag-eject. Kasi nag-harden na yung wall ng aortic valve, it cannot open completely. Anong gagawin ng left ventricle? Lakasan ang force of contraction. Anong effect niya ngayon doon sa muscle sa kanyang wall? Nakita nyo, pakapal siya ng pakapal. Nagkakaroon ng left ventricular hypertrophy, which is a common complication of patients with chronic hypertension. Eventually, ang makapal na wall na yan, magkukos na yan ng left ventricular failure. Okay? Okay, now. So to summarize, these are the factors that determine cardiac output. Some factors are inherent in the heart. Heart rate and force of myocardial contraction. And then you have coping factors like preload or EDV, afterload, or resistance or opposing force to ventricular contraction. Okay? So it is a play of these four factors that will determine the cardiac output. Now, these are some conditions that will increase the cardiac output. Anxiety or excitement. This is mainly sympathetic. Nagpapa-increase ng cardiac output. Eating. Pag kumakain kayo, nag-i-increase ang blood flow sa GIT. Increase blood flow, increase cardiac output. Matututunan nyo yan sa hemodynamics. Okay? Exercise, increase temperature, 2 factors that will increase the output. Sympathetics and metabolic factor. Okay? Pregnancy, increase blood volume, will increase the cardiac output. And of course, epinephrine is the same as adrenaline. So sympathetics again yan. Okay, now, what about factors that will decrease the output? Standing from a sitting or lying position. Matagal ka nakaupo o matagal ka nakahiga, bigla kang tumayo. Anong tendency sa blood? Gravity. Bababa sa lower extremities. So decrease ang venous return, decrease ang cardiac output. But this is immediately corrected by a sympathetic or baroreceptor reflex. Next, rapid arrhythmias. Nawala na yung normal sinus rhythm, napaka-irregular o napakabilis ngayon ng heartbeat. So napaka-iksi na duration ng filling time. And heart diseases, valvular diseases, katulad kanina example natin pag may aortic valve stenosis. So this will decrease the output. And the cardiac output does not change much during sleep or if there is a moderate change in environmental temperature. Okay? Next. Additional cardiac indices. Very important is ejection fraction. How much of the EBV is ejected per contraction? So this is the ratio of stroke volume and end diastolic volume. Di ba ang normal? Pag ang EBV mo 1 to 30 ml, ang SV dapat 70 ml. So that means per contraction, about 65 to 70% of the EBV should be ejected. Now, determination of ejection fraction by echocardiography, hindi ECG yan, echocardiography, is often requested if a doctor is suspecting na ang kanyang pasyente nagkakaroon ng heart failure. Di ba sabi natin, pag heart failure, decrease ang pumping activity ng heart, decrease ang force of contraction, especially ng left ventricle. So that pag ang ejection fraction falls below normal, halimbawa, naging 40% na lang siya, anong ibig sabihin? Tingnan niyo yung ratio. Alin ang nag-decrease? Stroke volume, EBV. Pag yung ratio ay nag-fall below normal, alin ang bumaba? Or mas bumaba?
Stroke volume.
Stroke volume. At kailan bababa ang stroke volume? Pag mahina ang force of contraction. And we are mainly referring here dito sa left ventricle. Okay? So kung mahina, nagkakaroon ng left ventricular failure, less ang stroke volume. So that if you determine the ejection fraction, magdi-decrease below normal ang value. Okay, next. Another index, cardiac index. Ito na ngayon, yung relationship ng cardiac output to body surface area. So normal is 3 liters per minute per meter squared of body surface area. Dito, tatlo ang magkakarelate. Body surface area, blood flow, cardiac output. Ngayon, matututunan nyo sa hemodynamics na yung cardiac output equal sa blood flow, equal sa venous return. Yan tatlong yan. Kasi nga close ang circulatory system. So, ibig sabihin, halimbawa, meron kang 30 years old male athlete na well-developed ang muscle. So, malaki ang body surface area niya. Increase ang blood flow, increase ang venous return, increase ang output. Okay? Ikumpara natin ngayon sa 80 anyos na bedridden. Nag-atrophy na ang muscle. So, decrease ang body surface area, decrease ang blood flow, decrease ang output. Okay? And finally, cardiac reserve. Remember, ang normal na cardiac output, 5 to 6 liters per minute. But it can increase to about 11 to 13 liters per minute, an increase of about 300% to 600%. Kailan? If there is sympathetic overstimulation or during moderate to heavy exercise when the pumping activity of the heart is above normal. Okay? On the other hand, kailan naman siya pwedeng mag-decrease? So pag decrease ang pumping activity of the heart. So pag may cardiac disease, valvular disease, pag chronic hypertensive na nag-hypertrophy na yung left ventricle, rapid arrhythmias, etc. Okay? So that ends our lecture on cardiac physiology.